Hey, queens and kings, this is Sharrona Reaves, and you are listening to These Three Things podcast, a podcast for women where the conversation is about us, our relationships, and every area of our lives. This show is about unity, support, kindness, and keeping it 100% real.
So we can rise up, move. We've got the victory. Burdens loose. These three things. Higher, higher we go. Don't stop, we're too close. Free your mind, let's go. These three things.
Hey, queens. Hey, kings. And good people. I am Sharrona Reaves. You are listening to These Three Things podcast. And it's great to be back this week. I know I left you guys with a repost episode of the Kings of Atlanta. That episode is a true These Three Things listening fan favorite episode, which is partially why I chose it. But first, let me just say this. Last week, I had to take off, you guys, because my daughter is in her junior year at Tennessee State University in Nashville. Go Tigers. And she moved into an apartment this year, and she was like, Mom, I want you to come up, help me get moved in, help me to decorate my room, get all of my things together. And obviously, as mom, I wanted to see the apartment. It is a gated community, so that was really nice to know that I wasn't sending her up there in a community where anybody could just roll up and roll in. So that was nice to see. There's just no way possible with the editing piece that I have to do with each episode that I would have been able to have anything ready for last Tuesday. So thank you for riding with me. Thank you for those of you who tuned in again and listened to the Kings of Atlanta. Thank you for those who were new and listened to it. Editing is a big piece of podcasting. For those of you who are thinking about getting into the podcasting world, most people pay others to do their editing because editing is just such a big piece of the show. However, I just can't imagine paying someone for something that I am capable of doing. So I do all of my own editing. And with that being said, I had to go out of town last weekend and I wasn't able to upload or get edited a complete new episode for Tuesday. So I left you guys in good hands with the Kings of Atlanta, Matthew, Harry, and Barry. Harry was AKA Chris, if you guys remember. He didn't necessarily want his real name to be out there at first until he realized that he was in good hands with me. I was going to make sure that he was represented in a light that would be pleasing to him and everything that he said. But these guys are quality guys, so that was easy. There were some hysterically funny moments in that episode. If you have not watched, I think I'm up at over 500 views on it now, but there is an episode on my Instagram at These Three Things podcast where I have a one-on-one with Barry after the episode. It is really just like Barry, Barry, Barry. You know how the Brady Bunch was like Marsha, Marsha, Marsha? The Kings of Atlanta is truly Barry, Barry, Barry. Everybody just loves Barry. But you know what? The reason why people love Barry, and it's not that Matthew and Harry were not true, real brothers and came and spoke their truth and their thoughts as well. Barry just resonates to a lot of us because he says the things that many men think but aren't always comfortable to say. And I think at any time when you see someone who's willing to just step out and speak it, we all appreciate it. And so Barry just resonates with my listeners. And he knows that. So again, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, on my Instagram page, there is a one-on-one with Barry and I that I think lasted for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. We never ran out of things to say. Barry's a pretty funny guy. So check it out if you haven't had a chance to. And let's get into today's episode. This is not a full episode. This actually isn't even an interview. What happened was this. After 20 years of coaching college basketball, can you imagine how many families I have met, how many people I have recruited, how many homes I have been into? We're not even talking about the people that I actually signed or came to the school that I was recruiting them for. I'm just talking about families just in general. You know, players that never even played for me, but just families that I built relationships with over the years. Well, from that, you kind of get to know people and you kind of get to where you can read people really well after so long. Well, what happened was Victoria and I had gotten on the phone and we started talking. Before we could get the interview even going, we had said a couple of things to each other, and then I'd let her know that, she asked me, was this episode going to be a video? And I told her, well, I'm not sure. I mean, even though we were seeing each other on Zoom, I didn't know if I was going to release it as a video just because I had just really learned how to record the video on Zoom. And then also, too, it wasn't something that I was really used to because I'm typically used to recording face to face with all of my guests. And when I told her that, she was like, well, do you want to get together and record this face to face? And why, absolutely, I do, because I was just so excited to meet Victoria. I was so excited to meet Victoria. And let me just give two shout outs right now of the two people that made this happen. Steve Berry from Tullahoma, Tennessee, which is a town where my mom grew up, born and raised, Tullahoma, Tennessee, really helped me get connected with Victoria. She is family to him. He's known Victoria since he was a kid, and he did a great job of reaching out to Victoria and making the connection. And also to a really good friend of mine, Alfonso Alexander, who had mentioned to me when I first started the podcast, I definitely needed to talk to Victoria. So it's just really nice to know people who know people that think enough of you to get you connected with quality people so that you can have a quality conversation. And y'all, let me just tell y'all, Victoria Eady Butler is a quality sister. Just from the beginning of our conversation, I felt like I'd known her for years. This sister is just a light, and I am so excited for y'all to listen to our conversation and just, you hear it in her voice. You hear it in how she speaks about the people that she works with, how she talks about Fawn Weaver, who is the owner of Uncle Nearest premium brand whiskey, who and I don't want to get off into telling the story because I'll talk too much and I'll tell y'all because I want y'all just to hear it. But this is not a full interview. Victoria and I are still trying to work out our schedules. Really, it's just her schedule, because when you a master blender and you are just needed all over the world to sign bottles and to represent this amazing African American whiskey brand, your schedule is busy. Sister is very busy. So I reached out to her to let her know that I was going to share the partial interview that she and I had done back in May. This was actually back in May when Victoria and I had gotten together. And we were trying to set up a time as to when we could go ahead and follow up and do the in-person interview. Victoria kindly let me know that let's try to get it done before Christmas. And I had to laugh because I'm like, geez, Louise, like your schedule is tight. And she's like, yeah, like I'm everywhere right now. But that is so awesome. That is so awesome. You will be able to tell from just this conversation that I'm sharing with you guys. This sister is a total queen. She is a total light. She is joy. When I listen to her talk, she just makes me smile. So let me tell you guys, I actually was able to attend the grand opening on Juneteenth in Shelbyville, Tennessee, the grand opening of Uncle Nearest Whiskey Distillery. Fawn Weaver, which you'll hear Victoria talk about in this episode, built a $50 million on 270 acres distillery, okay, and had the grand opening on Juneteenth weekend. Actually, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday ordeal. I was there for the Saturday. When I tell you that Black excellence was on full display, I was in awe. I was honored. I found myself shedding a tear or two. I had the chance to watch Victoria at work. When I first walked up to where she was signing bottles, because they had her out as the master blender in her own tent signing Nearest Green bottles. You could go in and purchase your bottles and then your bottles of whiskey and then bring them out to her, and she would personally sign it for you. When I first got there, there was a line wrapped around the tent waiting on Victoria to sign bottles. Her energy was on 1,000. She was happy to see everybody. She was talking to everybody. She was taking pictures. She was laughing. She was full of joy. I left because there were so many people that I didn't want to, I didn't want to stop her from doing what she was doing just to say hello. So I said, well, the line will die down. I'll come back and I'll have an opportunity to say hello. So I go out into the field where they have live music playing. They have other huge, massive tents set up out there where they have cocktails that they have created with Uncle Nearest whiskey that they want you to try. So I'm just out there grazing, just grazing and testing like I should do. It was the right thing to do. And just having a ball, listening to the music. People are out dancing. I went in and bought some gear. I bought a coffee mug because y'all know how I am about coffee. And you best believe I was coming up out of Uncle Nearest Distillery with an Uncle Nearest coffee mug. Bought myself a shirt, just really toured the facilities, and just was really in awe and just thinking the whole time about my ancestors and the fact that Victoria's great great grandfather is the reason why we are here celebrating today. And it just made my heart glad. So, back to the story. I circle back around after I'd kind of gone out for about an hour and a half and just really enjoyed the festivities and grazing at the different tents where the drinks were. Went back to the tent where Victoria was signing bottles. You guys, an hour and a half to 2 hours later, lines still wrapped around the tent. Victoria's energy is still on 1,000. Same person I saw almost 2 hours ago with even more people, I think, that was in the line at that time, still waiting for her, patiently waiting for her to sign their whiskey bottles. And I finally just kind of tapped her and I was like, hey, I said, this is Sharrona from These Three Things podcast. Jumped right up, hugged me immediately. It was so good to see her, just so good to embrace with her. And I let her quickly get back to what she was doing. I did have a chance to meet Fawn. It was very quick though, because you can only imagine if you are the owner of a distillery, how many people are pulling on you at the opening of your distillery. So I did get a chance to introduce myself to Fawn and say a quick hello to her. This sister, I am really going to do my best. Now, if I can barely get Victoria because of her schedule, you can only imagine what trying to coordinate a schedule will be like to get Fawn. But I'm really working on getting Fawn on These Three Things too, because there's just so much to talk about with her as well. But I wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys are whiskey drinkers, please support this Black-owned company. Victoria Eady Butler is the master blender, the first female master blender, the first African-American master blender. This sister is a first. By all means, enjoy this interview. It's not a full interview. At some point, when our schedules can come together, there will be a full interview where I will have a chance to ask Victoria all of the questions that I really wanted to ask her. To say that I have had a chance to interview the first Black master blender in the history of whiskey in the United States of America, and she happens to be a woman. I can't even tell y'all what that meant to me. I can't even begin to tell you what this sister means to me, but you will hear it when you hear this voice and this light and all this energy and all this joy. So let me stop talking and share with you guys this conversation that I had with the 2021 Master Blender of the Year, Victoria Eady Butler. Enjoy.
Hello,
Hi, Victoria. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm great. I'm great. I am, just for the sake of the recording, I am, I see you. Hi. You are beautiful.
So were you doing testing? Is the sound good? Should I use my earbuds?
Yeah, use your earbuds and mute your computer.
Okay, hang on just a moment.
Okay. Okay.
Let me see where I put them.
Okay.
Is this gonna be, are we just talking on this, or are you gonna be showing my face once we do it?
Well, you know what? I'm really just going wait and see. Can you still hear me?
I can't.
Okay, yeah. I had really just planned on us just talking, but then I wanted to see your face, and I just figured out how to record it because I usually don't record this way. Everything I've done has always been in person, so I always have my lighting and everything set up. I'm a whole production team, just so you know. So
Well, would you prefer to do it in person?
I would absolutely love to do this in person with you and just sit down and talk because I have so many things I want to talk to you about, even just from
Okay. Now look,
because I'm
we can make it happen.
okay, because I am here in Tennessee, but I'm here for a funeral today. My aunt on my grandmama's side, the Tilford side, her husband's mother passed away. So I just left a funeral, but I'm coming back again because my high school coach just died too. So I'm gonna go back
Oh,
to Georgia, but I'm coming back. I would love to come out and just sit with you and just talk because it's I don't watch so many videos on you and just listen to you. I don't even
oh,
want to. I mean, I get the nearest story, and we're going to talk about that. But just so many things, Victoria, as a woman who spent 30 years in working for the feds. I mean, to
yeah.
be living our ancestors, like living our ancestors' dream, like what they did to be a part of that. That's the stuff I want to talk about with you face to face. Like,
Well, let's talk about it. We can. You tell me when are you coming back?
okay, well, my sister just told me he passed away this morning. You know, white people, it don't take them long to bury folks.
You got
So,
that right.
yeah.
Look, he was around Monday.
Exactly, exactly. So I may be back Monday or Tuesday. So you let me know what works for you.
Well, of course, Monday and Tuesday are no good.
Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna come back when you tell me to come back, cause I want to sit face to face and just like really just talk, like woman talk, black women talk. What's the world of whiskey
Okay.
like for black women? Has it been? Has it? You know, have you been welcomed? You know, and just the
Well, we
whole
can do all of that.
yeah.
But if you want to talk today, but this is not visible, right? When you, or
Y-
you want to reschedule, and we do the whole
I want
thing.
to reschedule and do the whole thing.
Okay, well, we
Yeah,
can do it.
yeah. Okay.
So look, I'll be honest with you. We are planning for our reopening
I
on
saw
June
that.
19th.
I saw that.
And girl, we are just crazy busy. You would prefer the weekend, right?
I would prefer what works for you. Like this is what I
Okay.
do. So
But you don't live in
I live in
the area.
Savannah, Georgia, but all my people here in Murfreesboro. So
Okay.
yeah,
And I need to come to Savannah, Georgia.
you really do. If you come to Savannah,
Uh,
Georgia, you're gonna have some of the best food you ever had in your life. I just moved there about a year and a half ago after I stopped coaching.
I need to make something. I actually have the chef at oh my God, why is it escaping me? She's a James Beard award winning chef
Mhm.
at oh my goodness, that is terrible. Her name is Shamba. Um, hmm, I'm just going blank, but she's in Savannah.
Mhm.
I need to send you to her restaurant.
Well, please remember, cause I sure want to go.
It is so good. I met her last September. I did a thing with a group in Chattanooga,
Mhm.
and she was one of the chefs. And why is it her name
And
is
in
escaping
Savannah.
me? In
Hmm.
Savannah. Let me look in my contacts and see if it triggers something.
I'm trying to think of all of the. And she is it a soul food place?
I think it's soul food, but it's got a Cajun spin on it.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
think I know what you're
Shamba's
talking
one.
about. I think I know what you're
Hmm.
talking about. I'm looking for it, but I don't. It's not sweet potatoes, is it? It's
No.
not sweet potatoes. Okay. Because there's a lot of good soul food in Savannah, but
Yes.
there's a lot of good seafood in Savannah too.
I wish I could just make it where I could come to you, go see her, do a bottle signing. Um,
That would be
let's put a
awesome.
let's put a pin in this, and
Okay.
I'm gonna speak to our Georgia uh, brand manager,
Okay.
and let me see if I can't get something worked out before June 19th. If not, um, right after,
Okay.
and I could come to you, and we could go to dinner or something.
I would love
It,
that.
wouldn't that be good?
I would love that. It's
Me
just so
too.
much. I mean, oh my goodness. So much to talk about.
I'm at a loss as why I can't remember this gal's name. I'm telling you, my mind is blank today. It's ridiculous. I reached out to her because I had planned to come to Savannah
Yeah.
um, week before last,
Okay.
and my guy was coming with me, and he got his times all messed up, so I canceled. We were just coming
To
to
just
relax and
enjoy.
tour,
Yes.
coming on a Thursday, and he got everything messed up. We wound up just going to our place in Florida.
Oh.
Um, well, I say ours, it's really his.
Which is yours.
Uh, yes. After 8 years, I kept myself in
That's
the mess,
right.
girl.
That's right.
Um, but I'll figure this out, and let's just reschedule.
Okay.
Either you'll come here, or I'll come there, and we'll have a sit down. We can just talk and enjoy, and
Yes.
you can take notes while we eat. We can do a face to face. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
I would love that. And I would love to see what you do, like just when you do your bottle signings and how that goes, just like really to
Yeah,
watch you work. Like, I really am
yeah,
enamored with this whole thing that you do and just, talking about how you, like I said, did something for 30 years and then the Lord just opens up this pivot, you know?
girl, he's so good.
I
He
mean,
is so good. Look,
yeah, like,
so on the after we finally got on the call today, I I did my spiel, told the story. We talked about where I started, where I am, and then the young man went into just how good the Lord is.
mm,
In spite of we talking about whiskey, that's all right because
that's
all
all
things are
right.
good in moderation.
Yes.
But just the history itself, for me to be able to walk in these big shoes that my great great grandfather laid out for
Yeah.
me. And he was reading some of the comments that people were putting in the chat,
Yep.
and girl, I got to crying.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I didn't intend to mess up my freaking
Yeah.
lashes,
Yes.
but I just got overwhelmed,
It's
and and
cry
and,
worthy.
and it was cry worthy.
Yeah, it's cry worthy.
It was
I say
cry
this all
worthy.
the time because I do, this podcast is about black women. And I just did a show with a group of women from Houston, Texas. And we were talking about black women and stereotypes. And I was just talking about how we are our ancestors' biggest, wildest dreams.
Yes, ma'am.
We
Yes, ma'am. And
are.
for us to have this whiskey brand that not only honors a black man,
Yes.
but is owned by a black woman.
Yes.
And
Like,
she is so
Fawn
phenomenal.
is a whole mood. She is a
Oh my
whole
God.
mood.
She's something else.
Yeah, when
Oh
I
my God, I got chills.
me too. And
She's
I'm
something else.
I'm watching videos of her and I'm like, sister, where did you come from? Where I mean, like, you are a
And
whole
girl, she
mood.
just talks like that all the time.
Yeah.
She's professional, but she's just fun.
Yes.
And so that's how she runs our company. We do not work under the parameters of what the spirit industry has set forth.
Yeah.
We are in our own lane, doing our own thing,
Yes.
and knocking it out the park.
Yeah.
And it starts by her lead. It really
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
Um, she's beautiful. She's intelligent. I mean, she's
And
just a
passionate.
brilliant, has a brilliant mind
Yes.
and the most generous spirit
Yeah.
of anybody I've ever known.
Yeah.
She's long suffering. You mess up, own it, keep going.
Yeah.
She's special.
Yeah.
She's special. She really is.
You know,
So you have got to meet her.
yes, I would love to. I would love to. And you know what? I may make it back up here for the June 19th thing. Just to experience the opening of it all. You know what I'm saying?
Come
And to be a
on.
part of it. I would love to see
Yes.
that, and just,
Come on.
be in the presence of y'all. Because I'm telling you, I am just in such awe. And I get emotional. I watched a couple of videos of yours and I get emotional because I'm like, just having all these conversations with women and black women, because that's typically what I do on my show, and just thinking about like our ancestors and how so many women just like you, Victoria, like, have so much to offer, have so many dreams, and you're getting to live that out. And I think about our ancestors who were women that had all of these things too, but the world just wasn't
Yes.
ready for them yet, and
Exactly.
so I feel like there's
Exactly.
such a responsibility for us to set the stage for the generation coming behind us, but
Yes.
understand that we are what our ancestors desired to be
Yes.
and to walk in the
Yes.
fullness of that, to celebrate your
Yes.
great great grandfather and to be a
Yes.
part of carrying that on, for Fawn to have a desire to do that, for y'all to end up connecting. See, all of those are
Yes.
God things. How do you talk about that?
Yes.
You know?
It did not happen um, by coincidence.
No.
It was the timing, God's timing.
Mm.
That Fawn came on, that she picked me, that she handpicked all of the team
Yeah.
for such a time as this.
Yeah.
It was all there waiting for Fawn to come along, read the story in the New York Times, and 14 months later, this whiskey is born.
Yes.
And she wasn't coming to Lynchburg to make whiskey.
Yeah. She
It's
wasn't?
just phenomenal. No, she came to Lynchburg to gather information to write a book. Fawn is a best-selling New York Times publisher. She didn't have spirits on her agenda.
Wow.
She was not coming to make whiskey.
Okay, now see,
She
that's,
just wanted to know more about this unknown, once enslaved brother and write a book about his life, his descendants, the contributions that he made to the industry. But she did not intend to make whiskey. And then once
mm,
all this research started coming about, she pivoted after a conversation with the family.
yeah.
It was at a meeting in Nashville at a Church of Christ,
Mm.
and she asked them, knowing what we know now, how would you guys like me to proceed in helping y'all to ensure that Mary Scream's legacy is never forgotten? And one of those family members, after a long pause,
Mm-hmm.
said, we would like to see his name on a bottle. Now, little did he know that meant a distillery. He meant a um, a bottle of
Yeah.
celebrating him.
Yeah. Like for
To mean
Jack to
a
do
whole
something to honor him or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then July of 2017, Fawn came to Lynchburg June of 2016, and July 2017, our whiskey hits the shelves,
And you
and we
sitting
have
up here with a palate for whiskey and didn't even know it most of your life.
and didn't even know it. What she did for me was unleash a passion I didn't even know existed.
Girl, stop. Listen. That's cry.
Telling you,
Listen, that's cry worthy every time you say that.
every freaking time,
Every
every
time.
time, to God be
To
all the
God be
glory,
the glory. Because you
all,
know what? You
all.
can sit here and say that your great great grandfather, you were not forgotten. Your work was
No,
not forgotten. God brought
yes,
your work and your passion to fruition. Maybe you didn't live to see it, but it was not forgotten. And you know what that
it was not
reminds me
forgotten.
of? There's a museum in Montgomery, Alabama, that honors everybody that was lynched in the slave, like from every
And
state.
I need to go to that. I have
Oh,
not been, but
let me
I've heard
tell
great
you.
things.
Let me tell you. It will move you in a way that you feel the spirit of our ancestors there on a deeper level than you can imagine through the whole process. It was exquisitely done. And so when you walk through it, your spirit is really heavy because you see the names of people, and then on those pallets you see names of where it just says whole families would move into a new city, Victoria, and get lynched before anybody even knew their names. So you see like a
Mm,
whole family just unknown, unknown, unknown,
mm,
unknown. And so there's such a heaviness. But what they did is as you walk through it and move through it, on the outside where the sun rises and sets on this
yes.
particular, the sun sets on this particular part of the site, the museum,
Uh-huh.
every person's body has been laid to rest. So you see them all on the ground with
Hallelujah.
their names. And there is a
Yes.
moment where it's like we say, we acknowledge you being here. We acknowledge your
Yes.
life. It was not
Yes.
in vain. You are not just an unknown. We lay you to rest. And I feel like that when I think about your great great grandfather, to know that you know what, you were not forgotten. Your name will be
Not
on a
forgotten.
bottle. This world will know you, and your legacy in this
Forevermore.
is just the right thing. I mean, Fawn was,
It is the right thing. And
yeah,
and, and when this thing started, Fawn was and her husband were investing all of their own funds while she was trying to raise money. Now we have investors, and we are literally building out a $50 million, 270 acre distillery.
Man, come
Tell me
on.
God,
Come on. Come
girl,
on.
that is nothing but God.
That is nothing.
Everything just lined up perfectly.
Mm.
Just lined up perfectly. And keep in mind, I've only, we're not 5 years old yet.
Yeah.
And I've only been on the scene with the team for 2 years.
And a
2 years
master.
and more.
And a master already.
And a master blender. An award-winning master
Come
blender.
on,
First,
girl.
first ever female, first ever black period.
Listen.
I mean, you can't tell me
How
what
do
God
you
won't
sit with yourself? How do you sit with
do.
yourself
Girl,
some days? I mean, that's
look, my son keeps me humble. He says, because people are always reaching in, and I tell him about it. I only have one child,
yeah.
and we are really close. And so I tell him about things, and he's like, when I did the thing with Al Roker, he was all excited. He was there.
Yes.
And so afterwards, he was like, Mama, that don't mean you don't make meatloaf again. I said, boy, go on.
Yeah.
Go on. I
Yeah.
said, go on.
Listen,
So
and meatloaf that'll level you. Like,
but he keeps me humble.
yeah.
But just knowing really, it's not about me. It's about nearest clean, and it's about those who come behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful to be in this space at this time, but it is not about me.
But you were clearly
Um,
chosen. You do realize that, though.
I do realize
Yeah.
that, and I accept it. And it is the most beautiful
Mm.
responsibility
Mm.
that I didn't see coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't trade this journey for anything in the world.
Yes.
The team of people that I work with every day, while Nearest Clean's blood doesn't run through their veins,
Yeah.
they're just as invested and emotional about this as I am. And that's why it works.
Yeah.
It works because Fawn picked the right people for our team.
Mm-hmm.
We have left positions open for a year and a half because it wasn't the right person.
Yeah.
And so she has picked the right people for this team. We're very transparent. Um, we are very loving and caring towards one another. It just works. It
Yeah.
works. And we are a reflection of America. Although our whiskey is for everyone, and in spite of us being led by this brilliant black woman,
Yeah.
our team is reflective of how America looks.
That's right.
We have lesbians and gays and blacks and whites, Latina, and just on and on. We
As it should
are,
be.
uh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're not an excluder when it comes to drinking.
Yeah.
We want everybody to enjoy our good whiskey. Why not?
It's a lot of love in them bottles.
Oh, it is.
That's
It
a lot
is.
of love.
And it comes, it really does come
Yep.
from the soul.
Yep. I see
So
that.
yeah, we got to meet and talk in person.
Absolutely.
Because I can already tell you are going to be one of my favorite people. So
Well,
we got to make this happen. We
okay.
got to make this happen.
We
So
will.
I'll get with Jay.
Okay.
Jay is he's a brother in Atlanta.
Okay.
He's a Morehouse Kappa. You will absolutely love him.
Oh my. Okay.
He and I,
A
he and I
Morehouse Kappa.
fuss all the time, girl. So you'll like Jay.
Okay.
But I'll get with him, and since we can't make something happen there,
Okay.
if we can't make it happen soon enough, then I will carve out some time, and we'll make it happen on a Friday,
Okay.
or sometime during the week, here at the distillery.
Okay. Awesome. That will
Make it
happen.
happen.
Yep. That's great.
Make it happen.
I'm launching season 3 on the 28th of this month, which is a
Okay.
Tuesday. So that gives me time. I have several episodes recorded already, and the Lord has sent me in a completely different direction too, where God's like, I want you to do a few interviews, but there's a lot of things that I want for you just to specifically talk about, just you.
Speak up.
So,
So how do I find you?
okay, I'm on Pandora. I'm on iHeartRadio. They've both picked up my podcast now. I'm in about 48 countries and pretty much everywhere in the United States of America. This little podcast is blown up. We'll talk about that when we see each other in person, but this was totally God. I walked away from coaching and was like, okay, Lord, what's the next thing? Moved to Savannah, Georgia. thinking, you know what, I'm finna invest and start in the get coffee shops because I'm a big coffee person. I'm like, you know what, people pay a lot of money for coffee. Yes. So I'm like, you know what, I want to get in this coffee industry because people pay for coffee. I love it. It's something that I'm passionate about. And just, taking this time to figure out what my next move is. And God was like, you know how you've always been passionate about black women being in better relationships with each other? And I'm like, yeah, Lord. He was like, it's time for you to step out on that. It's needed. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Lord, do you know how big that is? You know how much stuff we got as black women? He was like, yeah, but I got you. Just, move in it. And so I just started, trying to figure out, okay, how would this work? And what's crazy, Victoria, is that I went to school at the University of Alabama to do exactly what I'm doing right now: production, advertising, marketing.
And you thought you wasn't going to use it.
I thought I wasn't going to use it. I thought
That way, Fawn is just completed her first semester at University of Alabama with a 4.0.
Well, tell her roll tide.
Yes, roll tide.
Roll
You know,
tide.
roll tide.
Yes. I love
Yeah,
that.
my son made me become an Alabama fan.
I mean,
He absolutely loves it. He decorated his room, and so we have been Roll Tide fans
yes.
for 31 years.
Yeah.
He's 36, and he got into it when he was about 5.
Yeah. Well, their College of Communications at the time I graduated from was third in the country. And when I tell you, they prepared me. I actually won an internship to New York, but I had a coaching job. And my mom and daddy was like, you don't know nothing about them people in New York. You better take that coaching job. And I took the coaching job. But little did I know. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And they'll scare us.
You've got to meet Fawn.
Okay.
Because I just know she is somebody that she would want to meet you.
Absolutely. I would love to meet her. Love to.
I've got to connect y'all. So it probably would be better if you came here.
Okay.
Because you got to meet Fawn. Well, if you're going to be here on June 9th, well, that'd be a bad day because you'll be running all over.
Yeah. Just look at your schedule and tell me, Victoria, I'm coming. Whenever you say.
You have got to meet her.
I would love to.
And you need to talk to her. Yeah, we got to make that happen.
Okay.
We got to make that happen.
Okay.
And I'll get these calendars together. And in the meantime, if you have not tapped the bottom of Uncle Mears, you need to try it.
Listen, I had planned. Last night I didn't get here till like 3:00 this morning. So last night I was like, I gotta get it. I wanted to have drank it before I spoke to you. But as soon as we finish this, I'm about to get one.
Do you drink whiskey?
I drink whiskey. As a matter of fact, let me just tell you, I am legendary Jack Daniels. Everybody has called me. Everybody who knows me knows that I love Jack Daniels. So to know that your great-great-grandfather was who taught him how to distill, I'm like, I knew Jack Daniels had to have some black in him somewhere because I have always been a Jack Daniels lover. And people would be like, Jack Daniels? I'm like, this is great whiskey. I don't know what y'all talking about. It is great whiskey.
And it's going to always be great.
Yes, yes.
Jack Daniels puts out a good product.
He does put out a great product.
Consistent, yes. It's going to always be good.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get my hands on the bottle.
Are you in Murfreesboro today?
I'm in Murfreesboro today.
Okay, how long are you going to be here?
I'm going to be here till tomorrow.
Okay, so, are you scared to get out?
Not at all.
Are you out and about?
I'm out and about.
Okay, so, if you're in Murfreesboro, why don't we connect for a cocktail?
I would love that. I'm done at
7 o'clock. I'll be done working.
Okay, you tell me where.
Okay. So one of my favorite places, the food is not just fabulous,
Okay.
but I love the owners.
Okay.
And they're very supportive of Uncle Mears.
Okay.
And it's the alley on Main.
Yes.
Right off the square.
Yes. I love the alley.
Me too.
Yes.
And Sean and Christian are good friends.
Okay.
And so they've got an outdoor area. I think it's open now.
Okay.
So I should be finished about 7. If I text you like 30 minutes before, that give you enough time?
That's enough time. I'm going to be just hanging around here today, so
Okay.
I don't have anything pressing. Yep.
Now, the number that you text me on, that's the number I need to text you back on, right?
That's correct. Yep. That's my number.
So I'll give you a 30-minute window.
Okay.
We can be at the alley or anywhere else.
No.
It's a beautiful day. We should be outside.
Yes. I love the alley, so that's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
raise the glass. So don't drink nothing. Let me buy you your first cup.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I love
Okay.
that.
So I'll see you later today.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. It's a
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Such a
I'll see
pleasure.
you later.
All right.
All right.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Look at the Lord. Look at the Lord.
Ain't he good? Ain't he good?
Okay, queens, kings, and good people. That's it for this episode. I know that the volume on it was terrible, so I hope that you can turn it up and actually really hear everything that Victoria said. I think that we kind of weren't really concerned about the volume after we realized that we were going to reschedule. But as you listen to this, it's very clear to see just the light and the energy that is Victoria Eady Butler. And after listening to it, I actually wasn't even going to upload this because I knew the volume wasn't that great, but I just really wanted for you guys to get a snippet of who this woman is and understand that this woman will go down in history as the first Black master blender who happens to be a woman. So I don't know if we realize the hugeness of that. I just enjoyed this conversation so much that I wanted to share it with you guys. I cannot wait to come back at some point and give you the full conversation between Victoria and I and all of the wonderful things that I'm looking forward to talking with her about. Hopefully we can corral Fawn in and maybe do them both at the same time. But thanks for listening. There will not be these three things in this episode because we will have it once we do our official interview together, Victoria Eady Butler and I. Thanks for listening to These Three Things podcast. I will see you guys next week for a new episode of These Three Things.